crafters, it's Janet with Crafting It Up in Creations. Welcome back. This is day 2 in the series of 12 Days of Christmas with my DIY Christmas ornaments. Today I'll be using the alphabet blocks from the Dollar Tree. Now in a package you get 9 for $1, and I ended up opening 2 packs. And I only messed one up, so I've actually got 17 ornaments. I'm going to go through and show you a sneak peek at some of them before I get started, but the full pictures will be at the end. And then I'll link my Facebook page so that you can actually go see the still pictures of these and look at them up closer if you want to. I tried to get some of the details in these pictures, but the way it rolls through for a YouTube video, it's kind of hard to keep it from not rolling across the ornament. And some of these were so pretty. I love them all. And some of them I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it turned out that good. So some of the supplies you'll need are the alphabet blocks, of course. And a lot of this other stuff is optional. It just depends on what you really want to do with it. Now, I used chalk paint on almost all of them. I used acrylic paint on a couple. I used Mod Podge. I used paintbrushes to put that Mod Podge on. Scrapbook paper. I used a paper punch. You could use tissue paper or napkins if you want. And I even used fabric on a couple. You'll need eyelet screws, various beads, trinkets, buttons. And of course, if you use the beads, you'll need like pliers, wire cutters, round nose pliers for sure. A flat nose and chain nose are optional. But you'll at least need 2 of those because you're going to have to open up the eyelets or the jump rings. We're going to use some eye pins. You could, of course, use cording, ribbon, ornament hangers, just anything that you want to. It's really all open. So this is what the alphabet blocks look like from the Dollar Tree. And this is how they look out of the box. And the letters aren't really completely embedded in the block, but as you can see, after I paint them, a lot of times you can still sort of see the letter. And for the most part, this is not a problem because we're going to cover it up with scrapbook paper, and even the ones that I used the fabric, I covered it up as well. And depending on the color of paint also depends on how it kind of hides that letter. Now, of course, white didn't hide it at all. The red hid it pretty well. The brown hid it pretty well. But even sometimes, and you'll see later, I'll show you that you can kind of see the indentation of the letter. Now that's truffle. That's what I'm going to start out painting the blocks. It's kind of like a dark brown, and it's a chalk paint. I got it from Walmart, and I swear it even smells like chocolate. I don't know. I just think it does. So I go through and I paint a bunch of blocks, and I work on some, and then I go back and paint some more. So you'll kind of see my hands get a little paint on them in the midst of all this. This is die cuts with a view. It is some bling wrap, and it is so pretty. It's a little bit different from what Dollar Tree has, although you can certainly use that. But this actually looks like jewels. And I'll show it to you up close here in just a minute. But I'm going to cut it out to go on top of the ornament. And I'm going to use one of the eyelet screws in the top. So I only cut this 5 by 5. And then I'm going to cut a slit in it and cut out the very center jewel so that I can fit that eyelet screw in the middle of it. And then once you lay it down on the block, it's really strong adhesive even. But once you lay it down on the block, you're not going to even be able to tell that I cut it. So I'm going to flip it around, and there you can see the slit that I made. And the first try with this, I went ahead and added some Mod Podge to it just to make sure it held. But that adhesive is really strong. And the only one I had peel up on me throughout this whole process was one that I had to pull up and move over. And I actually had to pull it up and move it like twice. So I'm pretty sure that's why it didn't stick as well. Now, I tried some various paper punches, and I even did some post-it notes to make sure that these would fit on the blocks themselves and not be too big. The postage note, or the postage stamp one, was way too big, so I was like, well, that's not going to work. And I did find a 1.5 punch, or actually it's a 1-inch punch, I'm sorry, that Stampin' Up! Has. It's a square, but you can get those punches anywhere, and even with a 40% off coupon, or they're 40% off every now and again at local craft stores. This is Old World Winter. This is a paper pack that I bought this year from Hobby Lobby. And I used the punch to punch out squares of the paper to add to the blocks. And it's just got some old-timey looking prints and some plaid and just some really pretty things in here that I thought would just look good on these ornaments. And then, of course, I also used a sheet from Stampin' Up! That I had. I went kind of all through my paper to see what else I could find, but I mostly did pull from this paper pack. But some of these are beautiful. Now, this is the sheet from Stampin' Up! And it's double-sided. And I end up using some from both. And here's on the block itself. And sometimes I mixed the patterns, and sometimes I kept them all the same on the block. I switched it up a little. You can kind of see the Mod Podge at the top. This is where I decide that I'll Mod Podge all the way around, because you can definitely tell. I guess I get it on my fingers and then would end up getting it, on the block. Now, on the snowflake one, I did punch out areas where you could definitively kind of see the snowflake, because some of them you definitely couldn't get the whole snowflake in the 1-inch punch, but you can definitely tell, you can tell, that it is a snowflake. See there, you can kind of see the outline of that F. But, like I say, we're going to cover that up. So I've got little music note papers that I cut out, or that I punched out. And this is an antique matte Mod Podge. It definitely has a little bit of a tint of brown to it, and it kind of adds an antique look. And then this one is a pearlized, and this is just safe gloss for dishwasher safe things. I didn't have my other Mod Podge with me. It's somewhere in another craft area, and I was just too lazy to go get it. But you could use any Mod Podge for this. So you can do it either way. I painted the back of the paper and placed it down, and then put the Mod Podge over top of it, or you can paint the block with the Mod Podge, set the paper down, and then Mod Podge over top of that. There's really no wrong way to do it. I did notice if I did it on the block first and then put the paper down, that I kind of had to wait a few minutes just because the paper would move around on me. And I just decided that I wanted the blocks to look uniform, so I Mod Podged all the way around, because my chalk paint didn't look dull anymore. So I'm going to show you how I punch these out. And I just kind of line it up to the back and then punch through the paper. And this one I had to actually cut the paper to get to the one that I wanted. And I love this saying. It says best wishes and happy Christmas. And it's just so pretty. It's probably my favorite, I would say. I guess just because it makes me think it's old time, type of ornament. Now these are the screw eyes, and these are Tim Holtz. Now Joann Fabrics had their Tim Holtz stuff 40% off a week or so ago, and I did get 2 packages of these. But you take them and you kind of screw them back and forth into the wood block. And when it catches on that eyelet screw, then you're going to screw it down into the wood. And so first you're going to go back and forth until it'll stay there, just like that. And then keep screwing it down into the wood. And every now and again it would act like it was going crooked, and I would kind of push it up, one way or the other, and then it would pretty well go in straight. I never had one actually go in crooked. Although with my brute strength, I did break one. And so I'm going to add one to the bottom. And I'm going to screw that one in. And I'm kind of just giving you a run through of how I did the most basic parts and how I put some of these together without showing everything I did for every single ornament, because this video was pretty long as it was, and I didn't want to bore everybody with all those details or make it an hour long, because I didn't know who has an hour long to sit with me. Maybe some of you do, but... And so this is one of the hooks that I got from AC Moore, and I added it to that just to show you what it would look like. But you can go through all your craft stuff, and here I was playing around trying to decide what to add to some of these. So I've got buttons and bells and candy canes and candy pieces. This is a cookie cutter that came in a button pack. These are some eyelet screws from the hardware store, so you can get them there as well. These are little owls from Walmart. You got 6 for $1.98. I had thought about adding them to one of the bottom of the blocks, along with these wooden snowflakes that I did end up adding. And then I had some bells in my stash, but these are some that I've bought with other Christmas stuff. So I encourage you, look in your stash, find all kinds of different things that you can add to these ornaments, because I'm going to do the same thing when I even make some of my others. These are adornment stars. I got them on sale at Joann's as well. And then here are some bead dangles that I made. Now, I did use head pins, and of course I kind of did it the same way that I'll show you later, that I'm adding some jewels to the top of some of these. These are Jolie stickers that I got on clearance at Joann's, and I'm kind of just playing around to see if it would look okay on ornaments, just kind of getting an idea. And these were different ones that I found on clearance. So I got the red ones, green ones, a purple one. And I'm going to use those red ones here in a little while. But here are some of my little Christmas ornaments. And here's another pack. Like I say, just look in your stash. You could find all kinds of things that would look cute dangling from these if you don't actually have jewels or jewelry or bead dangles or anything like that. Or you can look on eBay and buy bead dangles. So there's many options, but this is just kind of an example of some of them. If I did blue, I kind of tried to keep it blue. If there was red in the ornament or green in the ornament, then I did try to add some red and green beads, to it. I love adding the jingle bells. So every chance I got, I added jingle bells to an ornament. And I don't know why, I just did. So that's kind of just a look at some of these. And I just added usually at least 3 to 4 strands of the bead dangles to each one. It just depended on how big some of the beads were that I did use. And I tried to change it up. I mostly used silver, but I tried to change it up and use some gold, but some of those eyelet pins weren't gold. So I kind of feel funny mixing my metals, but I did it on some of them. And this, I'm showing you some of the dangles that I actually made. These are just different little pieces that I had. And I put them all in a little cup that I got from the Dollar Tree. And I honestly end up using just about every single one of them. But there's an angel. I didn't add anything to this one. I just put a head pin on her. But in a little bit I'll show you an angel that I added some beads to. But that was a quick flash of her. I'm kind of trying to go through and just show you really quickly just some of the dangles. Some of them are really pretty. Pretty enough to make earrings out of even. And I'm just going to, kind of group them together and add them to the ornaments. And at the end, I'll try to show you pictures of them when they're hanging from the ornament as well. So on the first one, I actually left this adhesive back on. I still use some hot glue to kind of reinforce it. But when I put it on another ornament in a little while, I actually just pull that adhesive backing off of them. Here's some jump rings, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to show you how I attach this together. As you can see, I've been painting, so I've got white paint on my fingers. But I've opened up that jump ring, and I'm going to put the block on and the bell on, and then I'm going to close that jump ring. And I've got flat nose pliers and just channel nose pliers to hold it shut. Now this is some elastic string that I got from Stampin' Up. It's really good quality. And I double it over, and I'm going to put it back through the hole. And this will kind of help reinforce that as I pull it through. And then I've got some bigger beads that I'm going to put on this. I actually bought some of these in mine for my fairy garden, but I thought they worked really well with some of these ornaments because they're nice and big. And I'm going to tie a knot at the top of that bead. And I do this with all of them. I just feel like it makes it more secure and that the beads won't kind of float around on the string. And then I'm going to go, about 2 to 3 inches up, and I'm going to double knot this. And this is what tells me that this is a good quality elastic, because sometimes you'll notice when you pull elastic like this, it'll pull apart the string even, and it never happened with this. So I thought that was really great. And I kind of cut it a little bit above that. And you could, of course, put some glue on that knot. But here it is hanging up. And then I'm going to kind of just show a few different things that I did with some others. Hot glued a snowflake on there just to kind of give it a little bit of a 3D effect. And I've got some dangles on that. Of course, I painted some more. And now I'm going to use that pearl finish Mod Podge. And on the white one, it's kind of hard to tell, especially on camera. In person, I could definitely tell that it definitely gave it a shine. Now on this red one, you'll be able to tell. And I was kind of surprised because I thought that maybe when it dried that it would dry a little bit more see-through, but it didn't. It dries exactly like it looks right now. But it's pretty, so I like it. Now I try to make sure all my brush strokes go the same way so that it all looks uniform. As you can see, the little H kind of in there. So it's not embossed in there too bad, but you can still see those letters. And I'm going to put on a Santa one on here, and I'm going to still go over it with that pearl finish. And I could have even went over it with just the gloss, and you would have seen the pearl finish on the bottom. But I went ahead and went over it with the pearl, and I thought it still looked really pretty. And it definitely was something different. Now here's one of the white ones, and I used mittens. I'll put some of the bling on the top of that one. Here's the red one. And this is after they've dried. And this one I decided to just bling it up. Now on the top, it's a row of 5 by 5, and that's so when I cut it in the middle, the eyelet hole or the eyelet screw will go in the center. So on the sides, I did 6 by 6 because that actually helped cover more of the outside of the ornament, kind of like the scrapbook paper did. And it still left an edge. And then I put a Jolie sticker right in the center of all of them. And I thought that made that something different. And I even added one of the little jewels that I cut out of the center on that one. But I only did that on one. I'm afraid that it's going to fall off. That's honestly my biggest worry. Now here's the adornment stars again. And I'm going to add that to the center of this ornament. And I decided to try out this Aleene's Quick Dry Tacky Glue. And I'm going to stick it to the center, and I'm going to try to line it up so it looks like a primitive star. And I'm going to put that on all 4 sides of this ornament as well. And it's kind of neat doing stuff like that just so it has that 3D effect. And like I say, I end up using almost all of those dangles that I made. And I've got quite the bead collection, so it was really fun going through and making them. Kind of like it was doing the stuff for my fairy garden, just going through all that. And then this is a piece of homespun. I just tied it around the block. I had painted it brown, and I just tied it in a knot, and I knotted it twice. I put a button on top of that, and I hung one of the wooden snowflakes from it. And now this is an eyelet pin, and I've added the beads to it. I'm going to use the wire cutters to cut off the excess. And I'm going to take my round nose pliers, and you kind of just roll your wrist to form a P. I'm going to try to get it in focus so you can see it better. And you're going to form a P and get that wire to touch the other wire. And then you put your pliers back in there and kind of pull back at the end, and it'll look just like the other side. And sometimes I kind of pull that in just one more time just to make sure it touches, just to kind of give it some added protection. And then I'm going to open up a jump ring, attach it to that, and then attach it to the block. And then we'll of course put an ornament hanger at the top of this one. I'm talking about looking rustic and primitive. So really on my tree I have all kinds of different ornaments anyway, but it's just, I love this type of ornament. And I love anything handmade anyway. I love anything that the kids have brought home that's been handmade. I have some from high school even and grade school that I handmade. So it's just, I love looking back and looking through the ornaments every Christmas, when you do those things and remembering making them and whatnot. So here's a run through. Like I say, I made 17 different ones. I used homespun on these first 3. This is like a red and green plaid. And I put a rustic tin heart in the center. And hung one of the red snowflakes from it. And then this is some homespun also that I had. And I love how those turned out. They were kind of the last minute ornament. All the others I had already made and made dangles for. And I was kind of teetering out on these because I was like, oh gosh, I've got to get these done and put a video up already. And of course, if you like these type of videos, please give me a thumbs up and let me know. And it also lets YouTube know what kind of videos that you're looking for. When you hit the like button, it'll pull up other videos as suggestions for you to watch, and it has introduced me to so many other talented people on here that have made such pretty things, especially if you're just looking for ideas or different thoughts about using things that maybe you hadn't really even thought of before. You have it, but just hadn't thought of using it in that way or using it for that craft. So that's the best thing I think about being in the crafting community, is that we share ideas, we share love, and handmade things are fun, and they're fun to give, they're fun to make. So I hope you have enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed making them. Like I say, if you have any questions, leave them down below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you hit the bell, that'll notify you each and every time I upload a new video, so you won't miss out on the 12 Days of Christmas series. And of course, if you make some of your own and you want to share your creations with me, I would love that. So if you go to my Facebook page as well for that, you can upload pictures to that and show me different things that you've made. And I'm sure, like any other thing, several people have given me comments before and given me great ideas to use or try different things in the past. You may show me something that I hadn't even thought of doing yet. So never sell yourself short. I always hear people say they don't feel like they're crafty enough, and I could so disagree so many times when I see different things that people do every day. This ornament here, I used one of those snow pins. You shake it up, you put it on there, and you heat it up with a heat gun, and it kind of makes it puffy. And so I decided to try that on the ornament, and I thought it looked really cool. So I thought I'd share that with you. And the rest of this will kind of just play out. I'll just kind of show you the rest of the ornaments. And I just want to say thanks so much for watching. Thanks for all your kind comments. Thanks for sticking with me to the very end of the video. I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed week. Take care.